Here's a blast from the past. Transgender Foundation recruits on Prince Edward Island, July 30th, 2014. The picture of me has been cut off. McCreath asked Islanders for more support for people who are transsexual or transgender. It goes on to tell a little bit about me and about my tour of Atlantic Canada at the time. She's meeting with people in Summerside and Charlottetown, and next month she'll travel to Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Wow, let's put the camera on me now. Hi everybody. This is Jenn McCreath, present day, July 17th, 2022. Well, that foundation didn't really get off the ground back in 2014. However, I've got some exciting news. I think we're going to give it another try with a slightly different scope this time. It's Pride Week here in Newfoundland, and it seems to be the time when I get angry that there's not enough coverage in the media and just general conversations about trans issues. And that's what I'm doing, I guess, with this video. One of the biggest stories of 2022 to hit the global trans community has been the backlash against trans people, specifically trans women, participating in sports. And we saw the FINA group, Federation of, I can't remember what they're called, something to do with swimming and water sports, basically come out and say that they don't want trans people participating unless they've transitioned before the age of, I can't remember if it was 11 or 12, something ridiculous like that. They claimed they had done medical research and scientific studies, but they didn't actually provide any evidence of this. And I guess my goal and issue right now is, especially here in Newfoundland, it's no secret. One, we've got a doctor shortage in the province. And two, as a whole, we're allegedly not very healthy people compared to the rest of Canada. And the last thing we should be doing is discouraging people from taking up sports, water sports, any sports, or sport activities, or even sports entertainment. And I guess what I want to do as a former trans marathon runner, I guess I'm still a marathon runner even though I haven't run a marathon in quite a while. I've played a lot of sports through my life, pre-trans, during trans, post-trans, and I became a bit of a novelty here locally and in some cases worldwide for being a trans person who was also a marathon runner, because it's just not something you hear about. There's an opportunity for trans people to become visible and become activists simply by doing plain old boring regular things. I guess the world still thinks that trans people are weird and different and underground, and we're starting to see some more mainstream acceptance and stories about trans people succeeding in life, giving back to their communities. We still face a lot of oppression. Most trans people I know are either unemployed or underemployed. A lot of us do not have access to appropriate health care. Housing can be a problem. Support from family and friends can be an issue. Yeah, someone needs to take up the cause and fight back against what appears to be blatant political bigotry. I get it, and I did get it back in 2009. A trans woman who is basically pre-everything probably has an unfair advantage when it comes to sports competition against natal females. And that's why I reached out to the World Out Games in 2009 and suggested we create what's, I guess, essentially now an open trans/transitioning category, and allow athletes who are partially through, who are at the beginning stages of transition, to simply attend an athletic event such as the World Out Games and be seen and be heard and be recognized for undertaking an athletic endeavor without necessarily having to compete against male or females, men or women, whatever. And I thought it was a great idea. And I gather 13 people in total took up that opportunity to partake in the 2009 World Out Games as part of the trans category. However, there was, I guess, 12 out of those 13 did not want to be open and out about who they were, and their status as part of the trans category was kept private and secret. So obviously in 2009 and still today, a lot of trans people live in stealth, meaning nobody knows that they are trans or have transitioned, because coming out would cause them harm or hardship. Unfortunately, I was initially led to believe that the World Out Games would profile this news, and before the games occurred, they profiled me on their front webpage. However, it's become a bit of an afterthought, and we've kind of been forgotten about. But there are trans athletes out there, and notably, there was Laurel Hubbard, became the first openly trans person to qualify for the Olympic Games. And then, of course, there was a lot of negativity and a lot of people complaining that it was unfair, and, well, Laurel ended up finishing way back in the rankings, so Laurel clearly did not have a competitive advantage. Then we fast forward to this year, where there was a trans woman swimmer in the United States college rankings that won a swim race and lost several others. But just the fact that a trans woman won an event was enough for a lot of these people to complain and say it's clearly an unfair advantage. There's no way that this is appropriate, and I'm here to say that reeks of bigotry, discrimination, and politics, especially when there have been trans people monitored and studied over the past 25, maybe even longer, 30 years. Trans people approached the Olympics back in 2002 saying, can we put together a policy to determine how and when it would be appropriate and fair for trans people to compete in the Olympics. And so this isn't just something that's popped up overnight. The NCAA, their policies and procedures had aligned with the Olympics committees. And of course, here we are during the summer, all these Pride weeks and Pride events going around the world. It's not something that's being talked about, and it really needs to be talked about. So I'm going to step up to the plate here. I'm going to relaunch the Jennifer McCreath Foundation, and I'm going to use that hopefully as a tool, not to promote and toot my own horn necessarily, but to act hopefully as a catalyst and a beacon to bring trans people together. One, to talk about this situation, and two, to promote and encourage inclusion and participation in sporting events, whether it be competitive sports or leisure sports. And so that's my big news. And if you want to get involved, if you want to work with me on this, I'd love to hear from you. But it is something that I'm going to push forward for, and I guess we'll consider this the unofficial soft launch, and we'll probably have a more significant hard launch within the next couple of months. And I'm looking forward to doing some work and helping the trans people fight back against a lot of our haters out there, and as we continue to work towards inclusion and acceptance in society, and ultimately, hopefully, before I die, we'll see true equality. So there you go. There's my big announcement, folks. And we will be on with more news later. So appreciate you watching, and stay tuned.